Okay, so hopefully this is going to help two different types of people. It's probably going to be good for everybody, I hope so, but specifically two different types of people. One, if you're new to flight sim, you're not sure which way to go, and two, if you've been doing flight sim, but for whatever reason you've suddenly found that you're getting a bit bored with it. So hopefully, if you stick around, this will be useful for you. My top 10 tips for getting the most out of simming. Hi, so one of the amazing things about flight sim is there is so much that you can do. You are literally, in front of this whole world that you can fly around, and you've got different aircraft that you can fly in, you've got different weather you can fly in, and sometimes the problem is, especially when you're just using stock flight sim, you're kind of lost with what you want to do. You get a bit bored and I was there at one point where I would take off from A, I would fly to B. I didn't really have a purpose for it, and purpose is actually a key thing to getting the most out of flight simming. And it's really looking at this kind of ocean of possibilities and finding the right kind of channel for you to get the most out of it. So let's start from the top.
Number 1, new to flight sim.
The best thing you can do if you're new to flight sim, and if you really want to take it seriously, is to really almost treat it like you would with the real world. Go out there, get some books, get some manuals, some flight manuals. If you are using P3D, I strongly suggest that you pick up the A2A C172. It's a great little trainer. It's very accurate, and it's a good way in the sim to learn to fly. If you've never done it before, there is no better way. It's a training aircraft. It's very good quality. And you can get the manuals out there to follow the same sort of steps. And by doing that, you're kind of getting that reward because you're learning a skill. You're learning something new, and you're going to, at the end of the day, you're going to master the Cessna 172, as you would do really if you're out there in the real world learning to fly. And then you see what you can then do is say to yourself, okay, I've learned to fly the Cessna 172. I can fly. Do I now want to go onto airliners, or do I want to go onto warbirds, for example? So you're looking to perhaps go onto warbirds because that's kind of my thing. So you go and you'd pick up the maybe the A2A T6 Texan or the Ants Aeroplanes Tiger Moth. You pick those up and then you master them. You put the time into getting it right with those, and again you're getting that reward because you're learning new skills, you're learning an aircraft, you're not just flying from A to B in a stock aircraft that really isn't fulfilling in the same way. And once you've done that, you've mastered it. And then from those two you can then move, and I'd probably suggest the Harvard before the T6 before you move on. You can then move on to something like the Mustang or the Spitfire. Spitfire's a good choice. Or the P40. Again, you're kind of building these skills. You're building this progression. You're not just jumping in and flapping about with it and wondering why it isn't going right. You're building this progression. And that's going to be really rewarding for you because you're going to feel you're getting somewhere with it rather than just getting nowhere. On the civilian side, now I'm not really into the airliner side of it, so this is where I don't really have any experience. But what you could then do, for example, from the Cessna 172, you could move into one of the more complex GA aircraft like a Bonanza, maybe a Cherokee. Cherokee, Comanche, Cessna 182, and learn some more complex aspects to flying, using having propeller pitch, having a constant speed propeller, undercarriage, remembering to raise and lower the undercarriage. Use it also to practice your IFR flying. You can use a GPS with these aircraft. Master all these different techniques, and then you come out of it having done all that, having learned how to fly in airways, and you can then progress on to something else, the Majestic Dash Q400. I've got it on my computer. I've never flown it. I've flown it maybe once or twice, but I've never got into it. But wow, that is a complex aircraft. And if you're into that sort of thing, it's a great place to start. And then after that, the world's your oyster. You've got the PMDG fleet. I don't know much about what else is out there. I think Aerosoft might do something. If anyone wants to recommend any airliners, put it in the comments below. I haven't got a clue, unfortunately. But you can see where you're going with that. That's giving you a progression. So it's giving you a pathway to follow. It's giving you a purpose rather than just switch it on, pick an airport, we'll go here, we'll go there, and then you're thinking, well, I've got nothing out of it. So that's what I'd say if you're new to this.
Number 2, but what if you're an old sweat?
So there's a lot for you really in the other sections of this as well, if you've been doing simming for a while. And forgive me if some of this feels like it's teaching you to suck eggs. I don't mean to do that. Hopefully some of this just might be of interest to you. Some of it you already know. Some of it you've already worked out for yourself, I'm sure. But if you're an old sweat, I would say, again, try and think of something that you haven't done that will be a challenge for you, that again gives you that purpose. It gives you that reason to come in and switch on the sim, and gives you that sense of accomplishment from it. But are you an airline pilot? Are you flying 737s, Airbuses, 777s, and you kind of want a different challenge in it? Then go pick up a Cub, be a bush pilot, land on gravel bars on rivers, give yourself something different to get your teeth into and to master, and again get that same sense of accomplishment from it. Conversely, if you're a GA pilot and you fancy, you're just getting a bit bored from doing little hops in GA aircraft, then go out and get yourself one of the big airliners. Read all those manuals. That the systems are so complicated. You could well get something out of that, and it could bring some new life back into your simming. So yeah, I would look at that. It's really difficult to express just how much there is out there for you to sink your teeth into. Simming is absolutely vast, and even if you've been doing this for years, I started simming in 1983, and I've had probably most of the Microsoft flight simulators, and I'm guessing it was probably only about maybe 5-6 years ago when I discovered A2A, the A2A Spitfire, and at the same time I discovered Orbex, and we'll come on to that. It was only really then when I realised there is so much more to this, and I can make it a lot more interesting. And that's kind of what you've got to do. You've got to make it more interesting for yourself. You've got to think about what you've been doing in flight sim, and you've got to think, okay, what can I do now to make it more interesting for myself and give me a reason to fly?
3, scenery.
Now, this is probably kind of obvious, but scenery is really very important. And again, this is one of the things that really revolutionised it for me. I was using stock scenery in FSX, and it was kind of okay. You kind of, there's a city, there's a town. I started using the, and I think it was Generation X VFR photo scenery. And for me, it just didn't work. I would, you see your house where you live, you've go and see the school you went to, you go and see the building that you work in. And once you've done that, because you're really looking down at a photograph, for me, it was very 2D. Not everybody feels that way. My dad adored it. He was very happy flying around above flat VFR scenery with nothing else going on. When you start flying really low, for me, that's when it loses it, because it's just flat. It was featureless. And then I think they brought out a tree pack, which at least gave some life to it. Scenery now is very different. And if you haven't discovered Orbex, please do have a look at their website. I'm going to put a link for all these things down below. The variety that they've got there in the different packs. You can start off with global and vector, and that will give you an improved scenery right from the get-go. You'll have more features. The terrain will look more realistic. Then you've got things like region packs, which are great. Region packs are very good for enhancing perhaps VFR navigation, but also just gives you something nice to look at. And it's actually quite impressive. And I've been using those packs really up till very recently. And to be honest, I've been very happy with them. I just recently got into the True Earth packs that they've just released. Now, the great thing about that is it's a hybrid between the kind of flat photo scenery, but it has autogen on it. It has features. It has points of interest that really bring it to life and really lift it. And I've got to say, I've been quite impressed with that, especially flying over Scotland, which is something I like to do. The scenery is just beautiful. And at the end of the day, scenery is important. It's a bit like doing a long car journey in the rain with nothing to look at. After a while, it's going to kind of get a bit boring, and it's nice to have something to look at. Of course, you might be doing IFR, practicing your Ninja IMC skills, and that's great, and that's your purpose for doing that. But if you want a nice chilled out GA flight, low and slow, you want to have something nice to look at. And trust me, scenery can make a massive difference. And for me, Orbex, A2A, bringing those two together made a huge difference to me. And also there's other packs out there. You've got airport packs. Just take a look at somewhere like, off the top of my head, Sim Market. Have a look at what other scenery is available. Is there an airport you like to fly to? For example, I fly a lot to Larnaca Airport, so I've got Larnaca Airport in my sim, and it's great. It's good fun, and it just brings it to life. It adds that immersion. Immersion is so important in simming, and that's what it adds to it. So worth having a look at that.
4. Add-ons for realism.
So simming really is a big old hairy money pit. But it's amazing what you can add on to it and how you can enhance it and how you can make it more realistic. You don't have to do this at the start. Once you maybe get a feel for it, you find that it's actually simming is for you, then have a look at these add-ons for realism. Now I'm thinking weather. I use Active Sky for P3D. I use ASCA. I use Skyforce 3D. I use Environment Force, which is Rex as well. I couple all these together and I get what I hope is pretty realistic weather. And it's when you actually think about it, it's actually quite mind-blowing. The fact that you could now go into the simulator, you could select a flight at your local airport, you can set the weather as it is right now, and you're in it. And it's just incredible. And what's even more amazing is that you could say, okay, well, 25th of August last year was a really sunny day. There was a bit of cloud. It was a bit of wind. It would be quite interesting flying conditions. The visibility was good, but not too much. I'm going to set that date. And this software will give you the weather as of that date. It just blows my mind. And it's really useful for example, at the moment, I'm doing the Silver Spitfire longest flight around the world. And what I can do in that is I know the day that they flew. I don't necessarily know the time, but I know the day that they flew, and I can set the weather to that date. And it means that hopefully I'm flying the same weather that they would have seen at the time. And it just makes it more realistic. It's immersion. Again, it's kind of, it's adding to that feeling that you're actually flying, which at the end of the day is what we're trying to do. We're not up there flying a real aeroplane, but we're going to do everything we can to make it as realistic as we can. Sorry, I'm having to look at notes a bit because I've got so many things. I just want to make sure I get them all in there. So we talked about weather. Something else that you can look at is a program that will give you views and cameras, and Chaseplane is the software that I used. Originally developed by old prop Kevin, It's now moved over to Parallel 42. Kevin has moved with it, and he's teamed up with OMG Edson, who I'll talk about a bit as well in a bit, and carrying this on. And it's a great piece of software. It will allow you to select different camera views in a cockpit, so you can be straightforward, and then you can move it. If you haven't got something like Track IR, which I'll come on to, you can look down at the instruments. You can then set an outside view. You can have different cinematic views. You can bolt a GoPro camera onto the wing of the aircraft and set vibration from the body of the aircraft. It's an incredible tool. For me, for videos, it's kind of essential, really. It gives me the ability to create all these different shots, and you can do a lot with it. And you can couple it up with something like that, just a simple game controller, and you can assign controls to this, and then you've got panning, you've got all sorts of different controls that you can use, zooming, moving the camera around, pan shots, tilt shots. Fantastic. You can do so much with it. So yeah, Chase Plane, well worth a look. Another thing you can do is look at something like PTA or Environment Force or Tomato Shade. These are kind of shading modifiers, lighting modifiers, and what they'll do is they'll make your sim just look a lot more realistic. Makes a huge difference, actually. I can't imagine not using them now, and it's very easy to do. I'm not really massively technically minded with these things, and when I start fiddling with them too much, I tend to break them. But there's some great presets out there for a lot of this software. Environment Force actually has an automatic mode where it does most of the work for you itself, and there's maybe just a couple of things you might want to tweak. But PTA, Tomato Shade, they come with where you can get hold of presets, and they can make a big difference to how your simulator actually looks. So again, have a look at those. It's worth checking it out. Have I missed anything there? Yeah. Okay. So you're flying airliners, and you like the idea of sitting on the ground, loading the passengers, loading the catering, that sort of thing. You like the idea of the fuel bowser coming up to fill the aircraft, the follow me vehicle that will take you to where your parking point is. Have a look at GSX. I don't have it. I don't know much about it. I think it's now GSX2 perhaps. But if you want to add some realism to that, then take a look, because there is so much in there, and it's well worth having a look at that, and that will add to your sim a great deal. Little Navmap, free program, although you can donate. Fantastic moving map, flight planner. If you're flying multiplayer, it will display the other aircraft on there. You can do so much with it. It's just incredible. Sorry, I'm just looking at that because something started flashing in my viewfinder, and I'm thinking, is this all a bit to go? But it's not. It's okay. So yeah, you can use it as a flight planner. You can use it to monitor. You can use it as a GPS in a funny sort of way. But it's a fantastic program, and it's free, although you can donate. And you can change the maps on it so you've got a different background. It's what I use now for most of my flying, because it has so much information in there that I can't imagine not flying with it now. Brilliant piece of software, well worth a look. What else have we got? So yeah. If you don't really want to go out just now and start buying add-on aircraft, and I'm talking about good add-on aircraft, I'm not going to mention any brand names or anything like that, but if you want if you want to try a really good, realistic, complex aircraft with lots of bells and whistles, check out Manfred Jan's C-47. It is stunning. You talk to anybody who's into this kind of thing, and they'll have it. They'll know about it. There's a community around it. There's repaints for it. It's a stunning aircraft. It has full checklists. It has a co-pilot. It voices this kind of, as you're going through the checklist, it will voice it. There is a flight attendant who will, keep tabs on things. I think she tells you what the passenger's doing. I'm not sure. It's amazing thing, and it's free, and it will give you an opportunity without spending your money just yet to try this kind of complex aircraft where you've got a lot to learn, where you've got to go through checklists, where you've got to learn the skills to fly it properly. And just give it a try. It's free. If you like it, then you can move on to other things as well, but well worth a look. By the way, if you feel that I'm missing anything with these points, then please put it below. It would be great for other people that are coming along who are coming here for a reason, because they want inspiration or they want to find out about other things. If you put your ideas below, they'll see that as well, and we're kind of sharing this information. So it seems a good idea.
Number 5, hardware.
So it kind of goes without saying that you want to get yourself a decent controller. Do not try and fly with a keyboard and mouse. It's not going to work. Personal opinion, but I think you'll find it quite tough. Go out and get yourself a decent joystick, and one that, if you've got one that's got a throttle on it, that's good as well. This is the one that before I started using my Thrustmaster Warthog HOTAS, this is what I used. Is that coming through? This is a great little joystick. You've got plenty of buttons on it. You've got a throttle control, which is really quite good. But also here you have a rocker bar, and that's what I used to use for my rudders. I'm not really into the twisty grip thing. I don't think you can see that twisty grip thing. I preferred to use that for the rudder. So using that for your nose wheel steering and using it in the air with your rudder. This is the Thrustmaster HOTAS X. I don't know if it's still available, but get yourself something like that. I don't think this was very expensive when I bought it. Plenty of buttons on there that you can assign to different controls. Cracking little piece of kit. Once you've got that, and when you're ready, the next thing I recommend that you get is a set of rudder pedals. I didn't have rudder pedals for a long time, and then I bought rudder pedals and I didn't use them because I was using that flappy paddle on the joystick. And then I said to myself, no, you're going to do this properly. So I disabled the flappy paddles and I started using my rudder pedals. And once I got used to it, the difference was incredible. It totally changed my flying. It made me a more accurate pilot, I hope. And it just made it a lot more realistic. So rudder pedals, well worth taking a look at. Throttle quadrants. You can get these. Some yokes come with throttle quadrants already on them. I use the Cytec Logitech throttle quadrants. I've got 2, so I can do multi-engine. Again, totally changes, totally revolutionizes what you're doing, because then you've got throttle, you've got prop, you've got mixture, and again, it's making it more realistic. And it's got some extra buttons on there which always make it easier, so that you've got more control over it, and you can assign different functions to it. So that really is kind of the next thing. You can also look at yokes. Now, I haven't had great experiences with yokes in the past. I've only ever had one. I won't mention the name, but we didn't get on. There is a new yoke coming out by a British company, and it's called the Fulcrum. And I used it I had a go on it at Cosford last year at the Cosford show, and it's just amazing. It totally changed my preconception of yokes. And when I say that, the ability to have a yoke in your sim at home that feels right, when you're banking, when you're pulling it in and out, when you're on approach, that's when you really feel that you're making all these movements, and you need it to be smooth and precise. And that's what the Fulcrum does. So I might even buy one. I am going to buy one. It's just an amazing piece of kit. So look at yokes. Maybe joysticks isn't your thing. I use joysticks because I fly warbirds a lot. So for me, that's a bit more realistic than using a yoke. So that's why that's what I do with that. There are other things that you can get as well. Control panels. I have the Cytec Logitech multi-panel. I love that because it's got a trim wheel on it, a little trim wheel, and it's got flaps on it as well. It's got an autopilot for when you want to use that. But for me, having the flap and the trim wheel, predominantly the trim wheel, is what is I find quite useful. So that kind of thing. And you can also get these things with radio, for radio panels, and your switches for your battery and lights and that kind of stuff. Have a look around. There's quite a lot out there, and worth a look at. Now, the other thing that I would really recommend is a system of translating your head movements in the simulator into what you're seeing on the screen. And you can do that using something like TrackIR, or you can use TrackCat. And this literally will translate head movements into head movements in the sim. So as you move your head slightly that way, your head in the sim is moving that way. And what that does is, once you get used to it, some people get straight away, some people you need a bit of time to get used to it. What that will allow you to do is, as you are, for example, in the circuit, you're flying, you're looking at the instruments, you quickly glance over it the wrong way, glance back, carry on flying, glance over, glance back. And it's very intuitive. And again, that totally changes. I cannot imagine flying now without it. I cannot imagine going back to using the hat switch on the joystick to look left, look right, look up, and all that kind of stuff. So it's not cheap, but it makes a massive difference. The next step up from that, of course, is VR. I've recently got VR. It takes a bit of setting up, but it's just mind-blowing. The graphics aren't as good as if you're looking on the monitor, but if you imagine, and I wish I could show you this on the channel, but I can't because it doesn't work like that. To be flying along and you're looking up there, and there is a Spitfire that you are in formation with, and what feels like a solid cockpit around you and a wing. It's mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing. And I discovered it when I went to Cosford and actually had a go on it. And thanks to Lewis from A2A for suggesting that I have a look at it. It's just crazy. It is just crazy. It's not cheap at all. And it's only technology that's going to improve in the future, but it's great. If you get a chance to try it, have a go. It's well worth it.
Number 6, fly with others.
This is something I really recommend. You will find in whatever kind of field that you've decided to fly in, whether it's GA or airliners. I'm probably thinking more of GA really in this kind of sense. But if you look at the community, you'll find people that want to do multiplayer flying. And for example, with A2A, go to the A2A forum or look at their Discord, and there's a multiplayer section. And every Sunday night, in fact, A2A have a multiplayer flight. It's not organised by A2A, it's organised by the community. Someone will plan a flight for the next week. And the great thing is about it is that, again, and this is in terms of if you're getting a bit bored with simming and you're not sure what to do, someone else is planning a flight for you to fly. Now, the great thing about that is you could potentially discover somewhere new you wouldn't have thought of flying, and that's certainly what happened to me a lot. Also, you are flying in the company of other people. You're flying, there could be 6 of you, there could be 4 of you, there could be 10 of you, there could be 12 of you, but you're flying in the company of other people. And as you're flying, you're chatting, you're joking. There's guys there that have been doing this for a long time. They know this stuff inside out. And it's a great way of learning as well, if you're new to it. And I'm only speaking for the A2A guys here because it's the only group I've flown in, but they are incredibly welcoming. There's no kind of clique to it. They welcome newcomers with open arms, and any questions that you've got, anything you're unsure about, they're going to help you with it. And it's a good way to practice your flying, and it's a good way to have something different to do and kind of be inspired by, because you're flying with other people.
Now, something I very foolishly omitted here, and I'm going to put this in now, is VATSIM. Well worth taking a look at. These are people who, like you, who might be flying a plane online. These are people who are air traffic controllers online. And essentially, you can link up, and as you fly, they will provide you with an air traffic control service. It's absolutely fantastic. It's very immersive. It's very realistic, and I'd recommend it. Number 7, turn to the community for inspiration.
The other thing that I'd suggest you do is, and this is not because I'm biased, of course, is check out YouTubers and Twitch streamers. This is a great way of learning what aircraft, what add-ons are out there. Learning how to, learning features of aircraft that you might already have. Learning how to do things that you haven't done. For example, VATSIM, which I'll come on to. Co-pilot Cat's just walked in. Hello, you alright? Yeah? We cool? You going to let me carry on? Yeah, so, God, where the hell was I? Yes, so look at the YouTubers, the Twitch streamers, YouTubers. You've got guys like the guy that got me into it initially was Frugal, and he's worth having a look at. This cat's going crazy. He got me into it because he was doing things like reviews and that kind of stuff, and I was able to see more about aircraft that potentially I wanted to look at, and gives you kind of inspiration to fly as well. You've also got excuse me, I'm trying to talk to people here. You've also got people like Oz Flight Simmer. He does some cracking reviews. He's a great source of information about what products are out there. And you are driving me crazy, okay? Okay. FS Elite is another good one. Great for news, great to see what's happening out there. And a guy that I really found useful for, especially for flying the Mustang, I seem to remember, FS Mania. I don't know if he's done anything in recently. He's a real world pilot. I know he posted some videos of that, but I found him really useful as well. And a chap called Peter Mathis, Mantok Productions. He's kind of a hybrid, so he does Twitch streaming and also he's got YouTube. He does it very kind of realistically. So he'll have ATC. He'll be doing his full flight planning. I once watched a video of him flying transatlantic in a Lockheed Constellation, using an add-on that operated as a sextant, and he was effectively navigating by the stars, and that was just incredible. But again, that's a great example of what you can do with simming. There is so much you can do, and it's just finding what interests you and doing something like that. Maybe you could say, do you know what, I want to see what it's like flying in a thunderstorm. And if you've got the right software, the weather software that I was talking about, then you can experience that without actually risking damaging your body or your aircraft. So that's well worth a look. Twitch streamers as well. You've got OMG Edson. You've got Spark Smudge on from Skypark TV. Skypark TV is a great. It's a great little community there that has a mixed group of pilots on there, GA, airliners, that kind of thing. And there's all sorts. There's other sims as well, like driving sims and that kind of stuff. But they also have this Twitch channel, if that's the right word for it. and that's it's a little bit more laid back. It's a little bit more kind of entertainment. Music is fantastic, well worth a look there. Also, UK Gym. UK Gym is he kind of does everything himself. It's his own thing. He puts his heart and soul into it. He flies GA aircraft predominantly. It's very chilled out, very informative. This guy knows his stuff, and that is, that's well worth a look at. Check him out. And also, of course, you've got Durka Durka. You have got Chewy, and you've got Matt Davis, and these guys have been doing it for a long time. They do a lot of airliner work if you're interested in that kind of thing. Well worth a look. You get inspired by these things. You'll watch something, you're kind of being entertained, you can chat while you're doing it, but you'll learn things and you'll be inspired by it. The other thing to look at when it comes to the community is forums. Go to these groups, see what you can find. There's always a community around whatever it is that you're doing. Avsim is a very good one. Avsim, they have like a file download section for freeware, but also they've got forums ranging from support forums for different software to just various different topics, videos, real world stuff. Well worth a look. You'll be inspired, you'll pick up something and you'll learn, and you might find something that makes you think, okay, the next slide, I want to do X, whatever X is. So well worth a look. The other thing I would suggest when it comes to community is go to a trade show. I went to a trade show for the first time last year, and it was fantastic. There was so much in the way of hardware, software, that kind of thing. But it's the people as well. It's the networking. It's talking to other people who are into flight sim. I don't know about you. I don't know anybody else. That's a lie. I know one person. That's a lie. I know 2 people who are remotely interested in flight simming. Everybody else, they just they don't get it. You go to a trade show and it's a big room full of people who get it and who understand it, and you get talking to people and you get to try different things out, and it's well worth it. I can't believe I went for the first time last year. I went to the show in Cossard in September. So if you get a chance to do that, you'll be inspired. You'll see what other people are doing. You'll talk to other people who are simming. You'll see hardware. You'll see software. And it might just be that thing that makes you think, do you know what, I actually really enjoy this. I just need to find this niche. I just need to find what it is that I want to hang my hat on and master and get into.
8. Mission or role add-ons.
So, after all that, maybe you need a bit more purpose. And I use the word purpose again. You could call it, you need a mission, you need a goal, you need a reason for flying, you need a purpose. There are other ways of doing that. There is software like Airhauler 2, where you kind of start your own virtual airline. It's part business sim, but you start your own airline, you fly routes, you earn money from flying different cargo. It's always giving you a reason to fly. There's another one which I don't know anything about called FS Passengers, which I think is kind of the same, but more focused on the passenger side of it. Something really exciting that's coming out soon that we don't know a lot about. I was talking about this guy OMG Edson, who is Sky Lounge TV, who is also the Twitch streamer. He and Kevin, who for his old prop did Chase Plane, have formed a company called Parallel 42, and Parallel 42 are continuing the old prop add-ons on, but they're developing new things as well. And one of the things they're developing is the Sky Park, and we don't know much about it at the moment, but what we do know is that it is a way of injecting purpose, and purpose is the word that Edson uses himself. It's a way of injecting purpose into your sim, but it's going to do it in a very, very clever way, in that it's kind of a persistent state. They're using this kind of crate almost, and that crate could be anything. It could be cargo. It could be it's whatever your mission is, and you deliver it to a location, and it stays at that location. They can also inject objects and situations into your simulator. You're not downloading a pack, as it were. It's injecting it into your simulator. So, for example, you could have a fly-in at a particular airport, and they're going to have bouncy castles, and they're going to have beer tents and all that kind of stuff. And the software will inject it into the sim. So as you fly in, you're seeing all this stuff on the ground, as well as flying with other virtual aviators at the same time. It's going to be mind-blowing. So keep an eye on that. Parallel 42. I'll put a link in below. I think that's going to be a very exciting piece of software, and it's going to give a lot of people a reason to fly and give them the variety as well. That's a really important thing. So you're not just getting stuck in a rut, it's giving you something different to do. So keep an eye on that, check it out when it comes out. I'm pretty sure it's going to be an amazing piece of software.
Number 9, join a virtual airline.
So VAs, virtual airlines, it's a great way again of giving you purpose. It's like a mixture between like a piece of mission software and flying with other people. You're literally joining a virtual airline which is crewed by other virtual pilots, and it gives you a reason to fly. It's giving you routes, it's giving you it's part BizSim as well, so it's giving you that aspect to it. And it's other people. There's a community around it. It's people to talk to. I am in Andros Meridian Airlines. What I love about them is I'm not really interested in the big heavy metal passenger jets. They have a really good GA air taxi service, and that just suits me down to the ground. Going up in a Comanche and ferrying some people around, love it. That's great for me. And at some point I may want to move on, and that's the great thing. It gives you that flexibility. If I want to move on to the Dash Q400, I can do that. I can master that. I've got the software, I just need to do something with it. So again, that's there for me to use if I want to. So that's a great way of, again, giving yourself another reason to fly. And the fact that you're flying for this virtual airline is giving you that sense of it's more than just about you. It's more than just about you thinking, where am I going to fly? You're part of a group. You're part of a team, and I think for a lot of people that gives you a real sense of fulfillment.
Number 10, look to the real world.
So 10, last one, and this one may seem a bit obvious, but look to the real world. If after all this you're just like, yeah, I'm just still not getting it. You've picked up a flight sim because you've got an interest in aviation, I'm guessing. And I find the real world incredibly inspirational. Go to an air show, go to a museum, go to your local airfield, and sit as close as you can to the threshold and watch the aircraft coming in, watch them land. Go to the cafe, grab a coffee, and soak up the atmosphere. I love the atmosphere of a little airfield. There's just something about it. There's a buzz. There's a vibrancy to it. It just reeks of aviation, and I just love that. And it's the kind of thing that you go to, and you come back, and you just want to fly. It may be you overheard someone saying that they were flying to a particular airport from that location. Something will crop up, and you'll want to fly. Have a look at TV shows. If you haven't seen Ice Pilots, I think it's on Netflix, and I think you could, well, certainly I had to download some episodes from their shop. Fantastic program. It's kind of got that mix of adventure and that kind of thing, but the flying in it is just superb, and it's old kind of C-47s, DC-3s, the Commando, well worth a look. YouTube again, look at real world videos there. There's a guy called Guido, and I hope I pronounce his name correctly, Guido and Warnecker. It's either Warnecker or Warnecker. I think it's Warnecker because he's from Germany originally. He is a predominantly a ferry pilot, and he does a lot of videos where he's ferrying different types of aircraft around the world, and it's just fascinating. Well worth a look. Check that out, and see if you get inspiration from it. So thank you very much for watching this. I hope this has been useful for you. I hope you've got something out of it, and I hope that you go on and you enjoy your simming. There's so much to do. There's so much in this world of simming, and it's just finding that right thing for you that sparks your interest. So best of luck, best wishes, and I'll see you around.